5 Myths of Communism. Myth number 1. Communism denies freedom. The Soviet Constitution provides many rights and freedoms that are not included in the American Constitution. The right to work, equal rights to all citizens, and the elimination of unemployment were all present in the Soviet Constitution. The working people were afforded great freedom of speech, assembly, and the press. Workers were given these freedoms and rights regardless of nationality or race. A socialist country like the USSR was able to provide these benefits as it strove to achieve communism. For workers, communism provides more freedom than capitalism could ever deliver. Under capitalism, the workers' rights and freedoms are subordinated to the capitalist economic system. Myth number 2. All incomes are equal. Marx never claimed that all workers would earn exactly the same incomes under communism. This is a liberal distortion based on ignorance. Marx states, "In a higher phase of communist society, after the enslaving subordination of the individual to the division of labor, and therewith also the antithesis between mental and physical labor has vanished. After labor has become not only a means of life, but life's prime want. After the productive forces have also increased with the all-around development of the individual, and all the springs of cooperative wealth flow more abundantly, only then can the narrow horizon of bourgeois right be crossed in its entirety, and society inscribe on its banners, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs." As we can see, there's absolutely no reference to all people earning the exact same wages found in Marx. The claim is rather a slander against Marx by his critics. Under communism, people will contribute to society according to their abilities and receive according to their needs. Under capitalism, workers receive a wage in exchange for their labor power. The capitalist, being the owner of the means of production, receives a profit produced by the working class in production. Wage labor as an institution is abolished under communism. So the idea that communism represents the equalization of wages is patently false. The abilities and needs of different people vary in society, so it's not true that under communism people would be compensated equally. Myth number 3. Communism killed millions. Anti-communist authors such as Robert Conquest claim that Joseph Stalin is responsible for the deaths of 15 million people. These claims are based on the fact that the Soviet population grew from 158 million to 169 million between the years 1930 and 1939. The population predicted by Conquest's growth model is 184 million, which he uses to base his absurd conclusion that Stalin killed 15 million people. He ignores the fact that birth rates decline when rapid industrialization occurs. The 5-year plans of 1928 and 1933 were extremely successful towards the industrialization of the Soviet economy, which occurred exactly during the period that the author is investigating. These lower birth rates completely explain the relative decrease in the Soviet population. This is merely an attempt to demonize Stalin in a way that is both factually wrong and disingenuous. Myth number 4. The man-made Holodomor famine. Professor Mark Tauger is the leading U.S. expert on Soviet history, particularly in the field of Soviet agriculture. Using archival evidence from the 1932 Soviet archives, Tauger shows that there was a decrease in the physical grain procurement in the year 1932. This suggests that the physical grain output decreased in this year and contributed dramatically to the famine. This evidence contradicts the claim made by pro-capitalist apologists that the famine was a deliberate, political famine, manufactured by the Communist Party to starve its dissidents in Ukraine. If the famine was indeed manufactured, we would expect to see stable procurement levels. This outrageous proposition that the famine was just a political act is not supported by evidence and should not be taken seriously. Myth number 5. Communism is an economic failure. The Soviet economy demonstrated that a planned economy can achieve economic success and growth. In capitalist political economy, the law of value determines investment based on the principle of maximizing profits for the capitalist class. It is plagued by recurrent economic crises of overproduction, which causes misery for the working class. During the depths of the Great Depression, the capitalist economies were in a state of stagnation, marked by low growth and high unemployment. By contrast, the gross domestic product, a standard measure used by modern economists to measure output, increased in the Soviet Union by 78% between 1928 and 1940. Despite a civil war, a famine, and a great defensive war, the Soviet economy experienced spectacular growth. Undoubtedly, the Soviet economy experienced this enormous growth of its productive facilities, while at the same time providing education, healthcare, and housing for its citizens.